Welcome to the Open Mic Diary. My name is Indra Adele, and you have just stepped into a safe space. Just like in a diary entry, in this space, I am free to be my most authentic self, be vulnerable and honest about my feelings and emotions, and give you a front row seat to my various life experiences, my challenges, my victories, ups, downs, laughter, tears, and everything in between. I'm turning my healing journey into our healing journey. And honestly, this is not your traditional podcast. This space is free flowing, hence the name Open Mic Diary. So expect anything. If you have not already, please go listen to the Allow Me to Introduce Myself episode so you have more context to me and the style of this podcast. Episodes, for the most part, will be uploaded in batches, but outside of that, I may decide to spontaneously upload episodes individually. So please make sure that you follow, subscribe, and have your notifications on so that you will always know when I post a new episode. I pray that my authenticity and my vulnerability in this episode blesses you in some way. All right. So I want to share a bit about my journey with anxiety, panic attacks, and depression. I feel like these three things are, they can be hard to talk about. I have shared about these things openly in the past, in different settings, right? But this is probably the most public platform that I've shared these things. This has been a pretty challenging part of my life, I'll say. I, as a child, started dealing with these things. And I'll kind of break down how that developed and changed over time. In my childhood, I experienced a few traumatic things that really affected me deeply. My emotional health, my mental health, from a young child, through teenage years. I had a variety of experiences that I'll probably share, more about to some extent later, but at some point, I knew that something was off because I would find myself just wanting to isolate like a lot. Just be in my room, not talk to anybody, and just kind of immerse myself in myself. And being a creative person, for me, that often looked like immersing myself in music, or writing. I would journal a lot and I would write poetry. Like those were my main outlets, for navigating those things as a child. And so I always kept a journal. I was always listening to music as I got older, and we had those Walkmans. Oh my gosh, saying that out loud sounds ridiculous. And then we had like those the like the Sony like CD players, right? With the headphones that had like the foam, what was the material? It had like that like I don't know what it's called. It was like that soft like foamy like texture on the air of the headphones. It's not like the headphones now that's like all fancy and stuff. But anyways, that just like took me back, way back. But my parents were, immigrant mindset. I didn't have no Sony CD player. we had like the Radio Shack. It was some other brand that wasn't as cool. But anyways, I would, play CDs and play radio and all that stuff like that. And that was kind of like an escape for me, right? And those things are not bad, right? Like those things were great for me. I think that I just realized that I wanted to escape like all the time. Like I realized that I was unhappy a lot, right? And like for children, right? Like it's not normal for a child to just be perpetually unhappy and sad, right? And so at some point, at a doctor's appointment, I remember my mom was kind of like sharing some things with my doctor, because she was, concerned, obviously. And doctor's like, yeah, she's showing symptoms of depression and blah, 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 blah. And so my mom, real quick, she definitely like was very attentive to me emotionally. And so she, would like read books about things and all of that and try to find ways to support me. And that was obviously very helpful. But the point is, I started dealing with these things at a very young age. I didn't really understand or even know that panic attacks and anxiety attacks were even a thing. So, in hindsight, I realized that I experienced them at different times in different ways, but I didn't know that what it was. I just thought I was having some type of overwhelming experience, right? And as I got older, late teens, when I started going to therapy and working through certain things, a lot of that improved for me. And then I kind of started to do a deep dive into some of my past traumatic experiences that I literally kind of just pretended never happened and never fully dealt with. In my early 20s, I started to kind of unearth that and really deal with those things. And so that was, of course, very healing, but it was also very, very hard. And I started to experience anxiety and anxiety attacks and all of that, right? And I became even more introverted during that time. Naturally, I am an introvert, contrary to what most people might think, right? Like people think because I know how to talk to people and I have people skills and, all of these things, right? Like that I'm an extrovert, and I'm really not. I tend to actually fall in the middle, but I'm more on the introverted side. But during this healing period, I became extremely introverted to the point where sometimes just being around people triggered an anxiety attack. And so once that period of time was over, I kind of had it under control, and I didn't really deal with that anymore, right? Like I kind of had so many tools, which I plan to share extensively throughout this, that really helped me to manage that. Plus, I wasn't in a trauma mindset, right? Like I wasn't in a situation where I was actively being triggered for my mind and my nervous system to even want to go there. So for some time, I didn't really have to deal with that. And then when I started having issues in my marriage, it kind of came back up, right, for me. And it started out mild and got more severe as time went on. And then I actually realized that some of the things that I thought were just me feeling anxiety I was actually having a panic attack. And they started to get pretty bad. During my separation and my divorce, it was really, really hard for me. Honestly, I've been through some really hard things, and I think that experience was one of the darkest, for me from a mental health standpoint. And so I started to have these really severe panic attacks. And just to give some context, sometimes what that would look like is I would suddenly start to feel a bit nauseous. I would suddenly start to have like a dissociative experience where I knew that I was here, but I started to feel like I was kind of floating outside of my body, right? Like I started to feel like I wasn't grounded, disoriented to some extent. At some point, my heart would start racing. And what I noticed with the panic attacks versus when it was anxiety was the onset was a lot faster. With the anxiety, I feel like I had more time to try to intervene or like do some breathing exercises or whatever to kind of like not let it hit its peak. But with the panic attacks, the moment I started to notice those few onset things for me, which was tend to be the nausea and the dissociation, like I had maybe seconds to do anything. And so it's one of those things where I've had to learn how to follow up the experience because sometimes there's not much I can do to prevent it from happening. But I can do certain things during the experience and the follow up from the experience so that it doesn't have as drastic of an impact on me because the recovery after that, which I'll talk about too, can be really hard as well. So I'll start to feel super dizzy. My heart will start racing out of my body, right? Like, and I'll start to feel like I'm going to pass out. Like I'll start to feel lightheaded. I'll like think the room will seem like it's spinning. And I just feel like I'm having this experience like I'm on drugs or something, right? Like my vision's blurry. And it can be very scary, right? Where you feel like you're literally about to pass out. And I start to feel very hot, like my body's like overheating, right? So, the things that I've learned through going through those experiences was that you can tell yourself that you're okay, but your body really truly knows what's true and what's a lie, right? Sometimes in those moments or when I'm on the verge of a panic attack, I would sit there and tell myself like, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And my nervous system, you know what I mean, is like, nope, pretty sure we're not okay. Like, and so that really did not help at all. And I just really learned how to lean into my experience and what I'm feeling versus trying to tell myself that I'm not feeling something that I actually am feeling. It actually makes the experience worse. Sometimes after a severe anxiety attack that turns into a panic attack, or one or the other, my body will physically feel sore the next day or sometimes for days after, because that intense anxiety sometimes can cause the muscles to tense up, right? And I'll feel like I just got hit by a truck and literally have to stay in bed for the next couple of days. So those are the really, really bad ones. Like the really, really bad ones would be like that. The milder ones didn't have such a lasting effect, but those of you listening that have had these experiences, I'm sure can completely relate. Those of you who have never had these experiences are probably like, what the hell? But it's helpful information, right, to know. And I'm going to revisit this topic a lot because there's so much to talk about here. And I'm not going to be able to talk about everything all at once. But it is good for people who haven't had these experiences to have an awareness so that if you're around someone that's having this experience, you might be able to offer some type of support that they may not be able to articulate in the moment. It is very, very hard to communicate your needs in the midst of a very severe anxiety panic attack. It's very challenging because sometimes I know for me, I've entered into like a freeze state. And so just being able to talk and voice like, oh, well, I need this and I need that in the moment can be very, very challenging. My depression got really bad during that period of time as well, of separation. And I've experienced depression on and off throughout my life, right? But as an adult, I definitely got to a place where that wasn't really a thing anymore. But I gradually got depressed as my last relationship declined. And that was one of the darkest depressions I've ever had. It was pretty rough, right? And navigating mental health with young children and life, right? Like it can be very, very hard. The things that helped me get through it, the things that helped me get through it, because oh my God, like in hindsight, when I think back, it's hard to grasp like how I didn't just give up, right? Like how I didn't just crawl into a hole somewhere and stay there, to be completely honest. But I have an amazing, amazing therapist and life coach who is equipped spiritually, and with all of the knowledge and the training and like he is phenomenal. Honestly, like for a while, I was having like 2 sessions a week, like 2 double sessions a week. That's like a total of like 4 hours of therapy, right? Like just to survive, like just to like stay sane. And in between that, like he, has Voxer access. Like I'd be blowing Voxer up, right? So I really, really appreciate that support. That was everything for me. And then I had a few couple people that really also were there for me, that I was able to lean on for support as well. Um, God has brought me through so many things, and I'm not surprised that he showed up for me in the way that he did in these experiences, especially recently as well. In the last couple years, without those things, I don't know how I would have gotten through it. But to be completely honest, perseverance, right, and the grace of God, like really helped because it's not like I necessarily had these things every day. There were times where I was very much alone in what I was feeling and experiencing, and um, it just felt like I was spiraling and spiraling and spiraling deeper and deeper into this black hole of a place. And I, for a long time, didn't see a way out. Like, I thought I was so far gone in it that I would just stay there. Like, it was just a very hopeless place to be in. And I'm gonna share 5 things that currently help me to stay out of anxiety and panic. Right? So the depression was a side effect of my life experience, right? Typically, if I'm not experiencing something traumatic, I'm not depressed. And so the times in my life where I struggled with depression, I was actively experiencing something traumatic. The anxiety and panic attacks are tricky because even after you leave those experiences, your nervous system, and parts of your brain learn to operate and function a certain way that are out of norm, and you kind of have to retrain them how to behave. Right? Because even though you're no longer in those experiences, they still might perceive a threat when there's not a threat, and you find yourself having anxiety and panic attacks for mild things. Right? And so I created a mantra. This was actually my therapist's idea. I created a mantra, and I printed it out. Like I literally have it framed and on the wall in my bedroom. Um, and it's just a really short, powerful statements, like just like maybe 5 lines of things that I can tell myself when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed and hopeless, or just having a hard time emotionally, or I can't quiet my mind, or whatever it is, right? It really just grounds me. It really grounds me and energizes me. And that I have used so much. I just used it the other day when I felt like I couldn't fall asleep because my mind was so active and I was feeling anxious about some things. And I did my mantra. And the great thing about this mantra is I say it until I don't need to anymore. And I pair it with some breathing exercises. I'll do box breathing or triangle breathing. And it's really helpful for me. Praying helps me so much. And honestly, God always meets me where I'm at. And so oftentimes I'll pair my mantra with a prayer. So that's number one. Number two, delta waves. Delta waves is something that I started to incorporate recently. If you don't know what they are, like, I might link actually, one of the playlists that I use that I've shared with many people. There's different types of waves you can listen to, but basically they're just sound frequencies that um, interact with certain parts of your brain to create a particular outcome. Delta waves, these particular ones interact with your brain in a way that tend to create calm, relieve stress, anxiety, right? Sound is a very powerful thing, right? Like you think about when you listen to music and you can listen to a certain song that interacts with your body, your nervous system, your mind, right, in a certain way, and it can cause you to cry even though you're not physically in an experience, but the song brought about an internal experience, right, that caused you to feel a certain way emotionally, right? The music in a movie can really change the game, right? Like if you're watching a scary movie and they're playing like Mary Had a Little Lamb as the people are running away from the killer, right? Like you're not going to have the same feeling as if they're playing like this super dramatic music that kind of brings your emotions along with what you're seeing. So in the same way, right? Um, Delta waves are basically just sound frequencies. And so there are sounds played at a specific frequency, and certain frequencies are known to trigger certain parts of the mind and the nervous system in a certain way. That's the short version of that. And so I'll listen to that, right? Sometimes for like 5 minutes, and it really just kind of like calms. Sometimes even when nothing's going on, I'll listen to it just to get it in there, just to like bring calm to my nervous system and my mind. Workout and nutrition. I've always loved to be active. I've always been a very active person throughout my entire life. I love riding my bike. I love playing sports. I love dancing. I love doing all of these things. And I really started enjoying working out when I was like a late teenager. I would work out with my younger brother and kind of fell in love with working out. Eventually, I became a personal trainer and help other people work out, right? But just being outside and walking, I love to do. But I realized that as my mental health started to decline in my previous season, I wasn't doing those things. Like I had gotten away from a lot of things that were me and that I enjoyed, right? I would go outside with the kids, right? You know, like we might go out and play or go for a walk or whatever. But there were times where I really needed to outlet that way, and um, it wasn't there for me. Honestly, I was so depressed for a period of time. I didn't even have like the energy to sometimes just go for a walk, right? Like, my mind would cause me to believe that I couldn't even do that. And so getting back to working out, obviously physical activity is a known stress reliever, right? Brings down cortisol levels, but then you just feel good, right? You got oxygen flowing through your body, uh, at a better rate, and it literally changes how you feel from the inside out. My nutrition, I'll admit that this is something that I am still working on. Because even though overall, like I eat pretty healthy, right? And I have for some time. But again, during this previous season of my life, I developed some bad habits, right? I would eat vegan junk food and sweets and different things like that. And really just got off track with like cooking my meals. Like I would order food more and all of that. And so even though generally speaking, I was eating pretty healthy, I just got off on some of these habits, right? And so I've recently been getting back on track with just my nutrition and really infusing my body with things that give me life, right? Things that make me feel good, things that give me energy, making sure that my mineral and vitamin intake is proper so that I can be my best self and feel my best, because malnutrition will cause you to feel depressed, right? It will mess with your mind, and your ability to really just have a clear head, just to be able to think straight. Okay. So those things have really helped. Music and art, these are forms of self-expression for me, which I completely tapped out of, um, uh, you know, for a pretty lengthy period of time, actually. in my previous season. And so I've gotten back into just listening to music, singing, dancing, painting, all of these things, right? It's just so important that you get to express yourself, whatever that looks like for you, right? And for me, being able to express myself creatively is huge, so huge in managing my mental health. It's like to the point I didn't even actually realize that it was so critical for me, right? Because this is such a part of just how God made me. If I go without it for too long, I'm literally like abandoning myself, right? That's gonna cause anxiety, okay? And you may not be able to connect those dots, right? But that thing can definitely trigger anxiety. So it's at the point for me where like it's not even negotiable. Like this is an integrated part of my life regularly. Maybe not every day, but regularly from week to week. So those are key for me. Showers, right? Now, for the most part, we're bathing every day. At least, hopefully, that's what you're doing. But there are days where I'll take a shower more than once because showers are so calming and relaxing for me. They're just like therapeutic for me. I don't know. Water can just be so healing. And another thing too is when you're in the shower, you're alone. At least for the most part, right? I don't know, maybe I'll be doubling up, but for the most part, like you're alone in the shower. And so for me, that just became like this place of like exhale, right? And I don't know if this is maybe a mom thing or what, right? But like when you get in that shower and it's just you and the heat, the steam, right? The good smell of your soap and just all of it, the whole experience is just very therapeutic. I literally will light a candle. I will turn the lights off. It's a rare occasion that I shower with the lights on if I'm showering in the evening time, right? I make it very, very relaxing, intentionally. Now, obviously, if I'm showering during the day, it's during the day, but showers are very, very relaxing for me. And there's obviously some science behind that too, which we can dive into another time. But just alone time in general, I have been prioritizing alone time so much since the beginning of this year. Honestly, since the end of last year, like since around October, I took it to another level. I really asked my kid's dad to be willing to be a bit more involved. Now, generally speaking, he's a phenomenal father, and has always been present for the boys, right? Um, but I asked him if he would be willing to kind of step up, more, right? And just how much he was with the kids and stuff, especially now that we're not together anymore, so that I could really like have extended alone time. I haven't known what that was since before I had kids. Like literally, like the first time that I went somewhere without my children was less than 6 months ago. And I mean like not to the grocery store, but like took a trip, right? And the first time it was literally like 2, 3 days, but I'd never done it. Everywhere I went, my kids went with me. I literally never got, even just the thought of going on a plane without my children was like, what? Where they do that at? That wasn't even like a thing, you know? And so now it's normal, right? Now I'm like, I look forward to those times. Like I love my boys. I love spending time with them. They're everything to me, but I also love my alone time. And I need that thing. So I be prioritizing my me time like no other, and I'm super intentional about it. And that time where I can just be with myself, quiet my thoughts, do something that serves me, whether it's something that relaxes me, something that is fun, like whatever it is, whatever the hell I want to do, but it's some type of alone time where I can just do whatever I feel like doing and pour into myself, fill my own cup. Is so important in managing anxiety and panic attacks, and also just as a mother, right? Like I think it's very common nowadays, right? Just to really get so consumed in how you show up as a parent, as a mother, and like literally you're just on the back burner, Like not even the back burner, but like the one behind that and then the one behind that one. And it's absurd. And so I really had to make a change there. But really just like embracing my authentic self. Like I'm in this place where for a while I literally just lost myself in the craziness of what I was experiencing, right? And in that I lost me, like my authenticity, right? Like, and became this version of myself that I really didn't even recognize because it wasn't even me. And so in being okay with everything that is me, embracing everything that is me, the thing, because there were parts of me that I judged in the past or that I was afraid to truly explore because I compared it to other people. I compared my creativity and my art and how I express myself and all of these things to other people. And it caused me to shy away from that part of me. I have abandoned that thinking, right? And I'm in a place where like everything that is me is good and it's beautiful and I need it, right? And I need to walk in it. And so, my, my therapist calls it radical self-acceptance, right? So I've been navigating in this radical self acceptance, and that alone has brought my anxiety and panic down tremendously. And these things might seem like minimal, right? But the accumulation of them has been a game changer for me. And of course, I'm not necessarily doing all of these things in the same day, right? But I'm incorporating them regularly into my life. And um, especially that radical self-acceptance piece, working on myself, healing, all of those things are a part of that, right? And my quality of life has changed drastically as a result. Of course, there are more than five things that I do. I just wanted to share a few things to help those people that do deal with this, because I know for me that these things have really played a major role in me being able to escape these anxiety and panic attacks. In future episodes, I'm going to dive more into some of these things individually and even just diving into in the moment, um, how I've learned to uh, interact with panic and anxiety attacks differently, so that I can come out of them faster and so that it decreased the likelihood of me even experiencing them in the first place. So there'll be a part two to this. But yeah, it's been great to feel less anxious, less panic, and I pray that something that I shared was helpful for you. Please let me know. Please let me know what was helpful for you. If you tried something, how it was. I definitely would love to hear. And if there are things that you do, right, that really help you navigate this part of your life, if you experience these things, share those with me. You can DM me and let me know.